The outside view from Washington. John Keim covers the Redskins, ESPN.com, NFL Nation in Philly tonight for Monday Night Football. And, John, there's been a lot of discussion about the Eagles and the ability to really KO the Redskins. They would have swept them if they win tonight. Do the Redskins kind of have the feeling of, I don't want to say season on the line tonight because there is a wild card avenue, but if you want to win that division, is tonight a must?
I think they understand that, if they lose, not only, like you said, they would have been swept, they'd be 2.5 games back. So, in essence, you're 3.5 games back against a really good team. And I think, barring an injury, you can look at the Eagles as having a pretty strong grip on that division. So, yes, they understand from that aspect. But I don't think at this point that they're looking so much at playoffs, but they do understand that aspect of it.
John, obviously these two teams have played once, and Philly went down to Washington and did something they hadn't been able to do for a while. They beat the Redskins. They had lost 5 straight, but this Washington team's got to be different than the one we saw 6 weeks ago. In what areas are they different, and which areas are they better than where they were deficient in Week 1?
Well, one area where they're worse is not having Jonathan Allen, their rookie defensive lineman, and then corner Josh Norman, who's out with a fractured rib. That clearly doesn't help their defense because Norman was playing very well, and Allen was doing a nice job as a rookie interior lineman and collapsing the pocket. So,
we lose you, John. Do we have you there?
No, you know what? I was sitting over at Park and I had some kids trying to screw with us. So I apologize for that.
All right, no problem.
I'm about to get some police involved here.
Wow.
So, anyway, sorry about that. They're better in terms of I think their commitment to the run is better. And I think that's been a big difference. So that, I think, alone has made – they're not so much great against the run, but they're committed to the run. And I think that's been a help because in that first game, they only ran the running backs 13 times.
Yeah, it was 10 for 30 for Kelly. I think Cousins had 30 yards. He led the way for Washington in that first game. But, John, if you remember – they had plays to be made out there. It seemed that Cousins wasn't sharp that first game, and just, he had some new receivers. They just weren't connected. He had a couple of drops. That's got to be something that was remembered from game number 1 if you're the Washington offense.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Yeah, in game 1, it seemed that there was a lot of plays that Kirk Cousins missed on. There were some guys that got behind the Eagles' secondary.
And I think he was as inaccurate as he's been all season. He's been much better, much more poised, I think, and relaxed. I think you saw, on that first play of the game, Terrell Pryor was open. He just didn't track the ball well. That was on Pryor. Pryor also missed another deep ball that he should have. And there was a play that was Jordan Reed was called for holding, but Pryor misses the ball. And, that it kind of got forgotten because of that, but he missed the ball. And so, but he had other plays. There was Jamison Crowder he missed a couple times. So I think that was an issue, but he's been better since then. But it's funny because in the first games of the year, the last couple of years, he's been off, and that was just kind of continued the trend. He's been a lot better since then.
John Keim with us, Redskins beat reporter for ESPN. John, how about defending Zach Ertz? Because he's had some big games against Washington in the past. In fact, in his 9 games versus Washington, he has more catches versus them than any other team in the league. Are the Redskins accounting for Zach Ertz tonight?
Well, I think every team has to, and I don't think it's just the Redskins that he's hurt. So I think he's been a problem for anybody. I think the big problem there for them is more so Carson Wentz than anybody else. But yes, Ertz always hurt them. In fact, there was a play in that first game. There's a third down play, and they had it defended with the right leverage. And they had a safety who is, if he stays outside, he's got the proper leverage to defeat the play. But Ertz is still able to suck him inside and then cut back outside in a little pivot route, and that was a big key in that game. So that was something that did not help the Redskins, but that was Zach Ertz, and that's what he does.
From a Redskins standpoint, are they more concerned, do you think, with the Eagles' run game or their pass game?
I think the Carson Wentz game. I think his ability to make plays on the move is what scares them. That guy's he's not, he can stand in the pocket, and he makes plays that way. He makes plays on the run. So I think that's what they're scared about the most, I would say.
Norman out tonight, Breland, Norman out with the rib injury, but if Breland can't go, how much does that shake up the secondary, and how deficient are they, or are they able to fill in the gaps in the Redskins secondary? How does not having Norman and then maybe not 100% of Breland affect the Redskins?
It certainly affects them, because you're talking about your starting corners, and I think where it hurts is that they actually have great corner depth, okay? They have a rookie, Fabian Moreau, third-round pick, good player. They have a guy, Quentin Dunbar, who's going to start for Norman. He's not a bad player either. But what you lose is you lose depth and working together. And I think that is where you get hurt. So you have talented guys come in, but they haven't worked enough together. So on some of those scramble plays that Wentz does, you lose the communication aspect, and there's some breakdowns that have happened because of that inexperience or that lack of working together. That's where you get hurt. It's not there's a talent drop off to a degree, but it's also the time working together where you get hurt.
And it's always tough to replace Jonathan Allen, but I saw you wrote something this week about Anthony Lanier. What can you tell us about him?
Yeah, he's a second-year guy from Alabama A&M, very talented, long, 6'6", about 290. He's a guy that they liked enough last year to keep him on the team, despite him being quite raw. And but he's inexperienced, and I think when you watch him in practice, you still see signs of that. And I think you still see signs of him maybe wondering, can he do it? What can he do? And I like Jim Tom Sewell has kind of worked hard on building up his confidence in practice the other day, and just praising him, going over the top, praising him with some stuff that he did. So I think that was a problem. But he's a talented kid. He's just not as good as Allen.
John Keim, ESPN NFL Nation, covering the Redskins. Eagles-Redskins tonight. The coverage begins at 6 right here on 97.3 ESPN. John, we appreciate a couple minutes of your time, pal.
Thank you very much for having me on.